Hey guys, what's up? I'm Mike, he's Ryan, and this is Eggs.
This is Eggs. This is Eggs.
What's Eggs?
Eggs is a podcast about all things creative, regardless of what that means to you. From the creativity involved in launching a business, building a brand, crafting an entertainment career, or whatever, we'll talk about the process of growing your eggs from start to finish.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. As he said, that was Mike, I'm Ryan, and welcome back. We're together. We're back in the States, in the studio here in sunny Salt Lake City. Back from a 5-week international adventure.
It's nice to have your lovely face in front of me.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm actually quite looking forward to it because, I mean, the biggest downer or the biggest difficulty, I guess, in recording long distance like that has been not being able to read each other, not being able to really have that one-on-one conversation the way you do, you know, like when we're here in the booth together.
Well, it's so hard when you're, waiting to hear what you actually are saying and then trying to come up with a response instead of actually seeing you right in front of me.
Yeah, it's tough to sort of riff in real time, you know. And I mean, I would say, all things considered, it went pretty darn good. I was really happy with the way the shows came out while we were apart. I think that, you know, if we're in a situation where we need to work remotely, I think it's a perfectly suitable solution.
Yeah, that Zencastr software works great. I mean, for being around the world and the way it turned out and, recording out of a car with stolen Wi-Fi and having it work as well as it did, even though there were some dropouts, you can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, if the show in the studio is I'm not going to give us 100%, but let's say it's a 95% show when we're here together in the studio, all those shows abroad were easily 90%. I mean, we're still very good, I felt like. And in terms of quality and the way that everything was put together, I mean, the software was a game changer for us. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I can't beat it.
Yeah, I was super happy about it. So anyway, 5 weeks in Spain. I'm sort of just wrapping up. I'll give you a little bit of the closing days of the trip and sort of what happened coming back because it was a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, I heard it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah,
actually.
It was pretty brutal. So, but anyway, I mean, well, brutal for me. I mean, I'm sure people have it way worse than me, but I don't have a lot of travel mistakes, and so every little one of them is disastrous for me. So anyway, I'm a sensitive guy that way. I guess.
It happens.
So anyway, so in the last couple of days since we spoke. Basically the big things we had my final days in school at the Spanish Academy there. I spent the last few days there really pushing through, trying to sort of get to a good stopping point in my, to use the phrase I use every other minute, to put a bow on that experience.
You haven't used that in a minute.
Yeah,
so
I know. I've been
like
consciously trying not to, but because I know it doesn't sound that cool, but I don't know how else to say it. So anyway, but I wanted to sort of compartmentalize that experience and sort of have a stopping point. So I had something, to sort of aim for, and then when I was ready to go, cut it off and be done. And so while in this last 5 weeks, I wasn't exposed to a ton of stuff that was new to me. Like I'd had a little bit of experience on some of these things. I got to spend a lot of time perfecting and getting really good at the stuff that I'd been struggling with for quite a while. So I was pretty happy with that.
So like the past tense.
Yeah, the past tense is a killer for me. And so I do okay with a couple of the forward tenses, but going backwards for some reason is really difficult for me. So we spent a lot of time focused on that. The last week I was there, I was taking my classes, but I was also taking private lessons.
Oh, really?
I was doing an extra 2 hours a day, one-on-one with a professor, so that worked out really good. Got a lot of just, hyper-focused attention on just that thing.
So something you had to pay extra for kind of thing? But
yeah. I mean, but it was, it was reasonable. I mean, for the week, it was like another $160 or something. I
used to do that in college. I would take... It would count as a 2-credit class, but I'd take private lessons through one of my professors, and I would say I learned way more and advanced much further through that one-on-one class than I did taking the general stuff.
Yeah,
because
for sure. I think, in general, like all the classes I was taking were group courses. So, but they're small classes. They try and keep it to less than 10 students. So they're group, but small groups. And, that works okay. I think they make us work in partners a lot and things like that. So you're working with other people. But my only problem with that is they're no good at Spanish either. And so if it's two people that aren't that good at Spanish working on it together, it doesn't do a great job moving things forward. But I would say in general, as part of the curriculum and everything, it was great. And in general, the experience at the school is really good.
So overall, it was a success.
Yeah, overall, I think it was totally worth doing. I would go back again. I would say maybe better not in the summer. The summer was great, because it was a cool place to be for the summer. But it was at the same time,
too hot.
It was hot.
Yeah.
The turnover of students is crazy because, like we talked about on a previous show, they would show up for 2 weeks and then just split and go party, or people were coming to class like hungover like every night or like every morning and stuff. And it's just like, it's fine. I get it. You're in Barcelona. It's summer. It's party. Whatever. And a lot of the people there are pretty young. In their 20s, and so yeah, of course, that's what they want to do. But it's like, for people like me that were there for school and
actually trying to learn,
it's wasn't as much recreation. I was actually trying to get something out of it, and so I didn't love that sort of high turnover. We ended up with a pretty good group of people, like maybe 6 or 7 of us that sort of stuck it through to the end. I think there's only 2 of us left now, but that are still there, and they'll be there for a few more weeks. But pretty well.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was good. While I'm complaining about people coming and going, it wasn't as big a factor in our group. But still, it just, I don't know. The environment was different. The school is prepared for this. They know that the kids come and go and screw around and get drunk and do whatever.
They probably don't even care.
For them, they don't care. They're just cashing checks.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's all good. But, but I think if you went there in sort of an off season when it wasn't tourist season and it wasn't, a lot of the people there were preparing for jobs or preparing for university. So they, wanted to be able to test in at a higher level at their university or something. So they would study Spanish in the summer, then go back to college in the fall. So I think if you went in sort of like a subprime season, if you were there like in September, October, you'd probably get a little better experience, I would think. So, but in general, it's not really a slight to them. Everything was good.
Do you think that you actually progressed in the language?
Yeah, I think I moved forward a little bit. I think my biggest downfall, like the real positive of going to Spain, is that you can be more or less fully immersed. You can work in Spanish all day. But I run a company in the States, and so unfortunately a good 60% of my day was in English.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get the benefit of sort of full immersion.
And then every Tuesday you get this jerk calling you trying to do a podcast.
So and I don't know. I don't mind helping that jerk out every now and then. But and then like when I work with Anna, it's almost all in English, and because in the past my Spanish hasn't been very good, a lot of the business connections and people that I've met over there, we speak in English. And, so like I sort of crafted a life in Spain where I don't need that much Spanish.
Yeah.
And so even though I was there, and of course I used it for ordering meals or, going to the store or whatever. I used it every day, but I wasn't as fully immersed as if I'd gone somewhere where I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, true.
And I actually had somebody recommend to me that I should try going to like, somebody specifically mentioned Guadalajara down in Mexico. Said it's a cool city, but it's not coastal, so you don't get sort of the tourists that come in for the summer. And I don't know anyone there, so everything would be in Spanish more or less.
Do they have like a language immersion program?
Yeah,
in there too?
I'm sure they do. I haven't done any looking, but also I guess the other benefit is it would be cheap.
Yeah.
Or relatively cheap. All said, the school wasn't that expensive, but the cost of living in Barcelona is really expensive. Summer tourist season was expensive. All the pricing of food and everything is jacked up a little bit for the tourists. It's, basically the city doubles in size for the tourist season.
Well, it's amazing to me. Like just the last 2 or 3 months, I've been on the road a lot for that family reunion, for playing, in Washington or whatever. And you get into the tourist cities like Tillamook or Chelan or whatever.
Well, really anywhere on the Oregon coast is pretty spendy nowadays.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. Gas prices are 50 cents more than anywhere else.
Yeah,
Your
crazy.
food, just a brick of cheese is $1.50 more there, and it's from Tillamook.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
They literally walked it to the grocery store. There's no reason for it to cost more money.
It's whatever, but, anyways, yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. The tourist season took a little bit of a toll, and basically I was eating out at least once, maybe twice a day, every day for 5 weeks, and so by the time you factor in everything, it's a pretty decent chunk of change to go do this thing. And if you could do it in Mexico for half the price,
why not?
Then that might be as good. Now, for me, I'm trying to learn sort of Spain Spanish, so it's important to me to learn some, local things and sort of cultural things unique to Spain. But in general, I could improve my Spanish a lot, even if I was learning sort of Mexican Spanish. It would still be, advantageous to me.
What are the major differences?
Well, the biggest one is the thing that everybody knows is the theta thing, where, they'll say Barcelona instead of Barcelona.
Oh, so like Ibiza.
Yeah, it's just the way they sound things out, or the way they say things.
Because I'm used to it being called Ibiza.
Yeah.
Or,
and in Mexican Spanish, it would be like Ibiza. But for in Spain, it's Ibiza.
Okay.
And so the C or the C's and the Z's, they hit with that th.
Okay.
So Mexican Spanish is actually easier for us here in the States because they pronounce their letters the same way we do.
Yeah, but they roll their R's, and I just can't
they
do that.
roll their R's. So if you don't have the R figured out, you got to work on that one. But just go back, harken back to your youth when you had to make machine gun noises and things like that. You can pick it up pretty easy.
I'm not going to try because it would sound ridiculous.
So, but yeah, in general, anyway, sort of South American Spanish uses that hard C sound, more like American language or English. And so it can be a little bit easier to speak because it's, it's spoken more naturally for us. But, it's not that difficult to learn to sort of put the th on things either.
Well, it's kind of like when I was, I'd moved from one area in the Philippines to another, and it's S-Waday versus H-Waday. A lot of the words are the same, but, I can't remember what it's called, but like when you, to, or like, kinahangan ko na makato sa bahay, which is like, I need to go to my house. But if you were in the other area, be kinahangan ko na makato ha bahay, and so it's like little things.
Yeah,
you
just
can,
subtle differences.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a lot of that in Spanish, and I'm certainly no expert. I think between countries, between, different places, people speak Spanish differently. There's Spanish, but it's, while I was in Miami last October for a conference, and I had a Cuban cab driver speaking to me in Spanish, and in theory, I had enough of a level I should have been able to keep with him. But the way he was speaking, he was sort of cutting off the beginnings and ends of words and kind of merging things together. And I couldn't understand a word.
Yeah.
And I was there with two of my partners from Spain,
and they couldn't,
who are native Spanish speakers, and they were having a difficult time with it.
Well, it's kind of like, you were saying a few episodes ago about how there's a sub-dialect that the locals use, and that's probably the same kind of thing. Like he knows Spanish and he's using Spanish, but
Yeah, it's different, regionally. Even within Spain, the further south you get, they like near Sevilla or Osuna, they speak a little bit more that way, where they cut off sort of the ends of words, or they speak very rapidly or whatever. Just same language, different dialects, I guess, or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that said, school was a good experience. It was worth going for that. The couple little business ventures or discussions we had, I think, are probably going to be worth having had also.
Well, good.
So I think that's positive. I don't know. We've been working with this one dude for the one I talked about last time for, I don't know, maybe coming up on 3 years, and we still haven't really formalized any kind of deal with him. And he's, a business guy. So, he's Spanish, but he's a business guy. But even business guy in Spain still doesn't move at the rate as business guy in the States, for example.
Just a little slower than normal.
Well, and it's all that relationship and it's all that stuff. And so, actually the one comment I keep getting from people when I do get over to Spain and I start talking to people is they are impressed with sort of my stick-to-itiveness, the fact that I'm still coming after all this time.
You're still barking up that tree.
Yeah, because I think for them, that's really impressive. It's like, it's one thing for me to show up one time and be like, oh, hey, Spain's really great. I want to work in Spain, blah, 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 and then never come back.
And never actually follow through.
But the fact that I come back 3 or 4 times a year, and every time I'm there, I make sure to sit down with these guys and take them to dinner and stuff like that. I think in terms of building that relationship, and we've talked about it a little in the past, but I mean, in terms of building that relationship with people, I'm going a long way to develop this relationship, and I think they respect that
They
part.
actually acknowledge that. Well, for me, like this venue I work at in Idaho, Center Street, I can't play there all the time because I'm always on the road. I've got mobile gigs and weddings and clients that I have to go and deal with and other venues that I play at. And I've had multiple guys come up to me and say, hey, I would love to learn how to do this. I would love to be a DJ. Will you teach me? And I've always said yes, because I need someone to fill in for me when I'm gone.
You need your own private grasshopper.
Well, not even that. I just, it's nice to have someone reliable that can do the job and do it well. And the thing is I'm not going to pursue them. I'm not going to go and say, hey, you hit me up. You want to learn? Come learn.
Right.
They have to make the first step. They have to call me. They have to want to set up a time to practice. And
I think that's true in a number of fields. I mean, as I've hired and fired and worked with different people too, same thing. I mean, the one that will come to you, the one that's driven, and the one that will really work for it, that's the one you want to work with. You don't want to work with the person you're chasing.
Exactly. And so I the way I look at it is, if he really wants to learn, he's going to hit me up. He's going to come chase me down. And yeah, I'll teach you. I'll take some time out of my day. I'm busy, but I'll take some time to teach you if you want to learn.
And that's the thing. And it's sort of in the same spirit, right? I mean, the fact that I keep showing up in Spain for these guys is going, oh, okay, well, this guy's serious. He's not messing around, So we feel better spending time with him, investing money in him, talking about working with his business, because we know he's going to be there. He keeps coming back. He's not been scared off. He's not been, completely intimidated. He's not been, dissuaded by the cultural differences. I mean, and I think all that stuff goes a long way towards building that good foundation. And so anyway, it's been a challenge, and we talked about it last episode, so I won't get into it too much, but I'm excited to see something actually happen over there.
Yeah.
And, I feel like we're getting near, so maybe this is just how long it takes. And, and perfectly honestly, I mean, I don't spend every single day looking for work in Spain. I mean, it's catch as catch can, and it's every once a week or something I'm sending a couple emails. It's not full-time job looking for work over there.
Well,
and so I mean, I can't expect to grow overnight if I'm not putting in the hours.
Yeah, but it's the small things. It's the baby steps, and things will come along.
Yeah, poco a poco, they say.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's kind of the wrap on school. It was worth doing. The place was called Camino Barcelona. If you're ever looking to learn Spanish yourself, and you're looking for an immersion experience in a great city, that's not a bad choice. And feel free to shoot us an email or ask any questions.
And it sounds like you can get a pretty good deal with the school and get $1,000 back the last week and go and party. And
yeah,
not tell your parents.
So I hear. I mean, I don't know if that's actually written into the policy, but that's word on the street. But yeah. So anyway, seriously, if you're looking for an education or you're looking to do some Spanish studying, Camino Barcelona is a pretty solid place, and the accreditation they have is from the Cervantes School, which I guess is one of the better accreditations, and so it's not a bad place to go. I mean, I'm sure there are a million good ones, but these guys weren't bad.
Oh, cool.
So, but that said, just to sort of finish up Spain, on Wednesday before I left, we got to do sort of our company dinner sort of thing. Every time I go out there, I try to do a meal, or we do something together kind of as a group, as our team.
Just a way of saying thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, it's one thing, because we communicate mostly by text and stuff, so it's like sometimes you don't really get the vibe, or like, I can say thank you, but it doesn't maybe feel all that profound over text. So when I am here, I like to spoil them a little bit and take them and go do special things, or try and find, nice meals, stuff like that. Both Anna and Berta over there are pretty humble people, and they wouldn't spend money on something like this, you know?
Yeah.
And so, so for me, it's kind of a fun thing to do with them and take them to do something. So this time we went to this place. It's called the Dry Martini. And the Dry Martini is really high ranked. It's like maybe number 5 in the world for cocktails or something.
Oh, wow.
Like, I mean, it's a really great bar. And it's funny, though, because it's kind of old-timey. Like, it's kind of a throwback.
A speakeasy kind of.
Yeah. And it's sort of a throwback to an older time. So the bar staff, are all dressed very nice, and, everything's done very professionally and very cool. And so I had the girls meet me there before dinner. And, I think it was kind of funny because they're both younger than me. They're both 27. And so I think when they came into this kind of bar, because, I mean, it's not like the nightclub scene or whatever, it was kind of a different experience for them. So I could see them kind of looking around going, like, man, what is this place? Where did he bring us?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, the cocktails were amazing. The drinks were fantastic, everything. So, but the real reason I took them there is you mentioned Speakeasy. There's a restaurant in Barcelona called Speakeasy. And Speakeasy is hidden in the back of Dry Martini.
Oh, I love that.
And so you go to the Dry Martini bar, you hang out, you have a reservation, theoretically, and they will come get you at time, and then they basically walk you back through the kitchen and back into their warehouse. And they have maybe 10 or 15 tables back there, and they have this really intimate dining room.
That's awesome.
And so, of course, the girls had no idea what to expect. They didn't know what was happening until they got back there. And, for them, I think it was kind of a mind blown moment. I think they really, really thought that was a cool experience. And so, I was really grateful to be able to take them to this place. It was funny, though, because I had set up a reservation. They have an app over there. Here, what do we use? We've got like Urban Spoon and Zomato and some of these kinds of things. Uh-huh. Over there, they've got one called El Tenedor. And El Tenedor is more or less the same thing, the fork in English. And so, but I was able to book a reservation for this place through using this app or their website. And when I set the reservation, there were 2 options. There was just standard reservation or reservation, con menu. They have like this thing over there. It's one of my favorite things in Spain, and I guess it would be equivalent to like our combo menus over here or something, but they're different. It's better. And so the menu over there is most of them average between maybe 10 and 13 euros. Generally speaking, you get a starter, so maybe it's a salad, maybe it's I don't know what it is. You get some kind of starter, you get a main plate, you get a postres, like a dessert or something, and then you'll get a drink, bread, and coffee or something. And it's usually around 10 to 13 euros, something like that. A good one might be a little more, bad one might be a little less, but that's the ballpark.
That's the equivalent of 2 Happy Meals at McDonald's.
Right. But this is generally better quality food. I mean, you can find crappy ones, but, this is generally decent food. So, but the menu at this place, or through this reservation, were 88 euros per plate. So, or per person. And so I knew kind of, it was going to be a little bit expensive. I knew it was, a nice restaurant.
Well,
and so I signed up for this thing.
Signing up for originally.
Yeah. I knew what I was getting. And so, but I saw this, they had this special where you could get this menu for 88 euros. And it was like, oh, okay, well, cool. That must, it must be good. So, so I set our reservation with that menu, and it was called something, I can't remember the name, but it was, something cocktail. And I knew that this place was known for its cocktails. So in my mind, that was like, oh, okay, well, you get your menu, your starter, your main, and your dessert, and then you also get cocktail or something with it, because, it's a cocktail place. Okay, I get it. So anyway, so I signed up for that one. So we show up at the restaurant, and the waiter sits us at our table and everything, and he pulls up our reservation, sees that I'd signed up for that. Comes over to the table, and he looks at these 2 girls. I mean, I don't know what they weigh, but I mean, neither of them could be 115 pounds soaking wet. I mean, they're both teeny little people. And he kind of pulls me aside, and he's like, hey, man, I see that you signed up for our cocktail menu. And he said, but what it is basically we give you a cocktail with 7 different courses. So you get 7 small cocktails. Plates, but you get 7 cocktails. He said, by the time you finish, you'll drink a bottle of gin.
Wow.
And he said, these girls will not make it. He said
he did that.
Yeah, he said you'll be okay, but these girls will not survive the experience.
Well, props on him for actually saying that in advance, because
Yeah, no, I mean, the wait staff at this place was top notch. They were impeccable. So, I mean, I'm not surprised he said something, but I was really grateful he did because I had no idea what I'd signed us up for. And so, and basically, like I said, it's not a bottle of gin for the table; it's per person. So he said, I mean, he's like, the girls won't walk out. He's like, it's not going to be a good experience.
Yeah.
And so he let us switch our reservation over and choose just from the menu a la carte. And so basically what we ended up doing was just choosing different meals, or 5 or 6 different entrees, and then we just split them.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we got to try a lot of different things and everything. And so it was great. It was a really good experience. It was more spendy than I had anticipated. Because
as you swallow,
because I anticipated 88 euros per plate. So I knew roughly what it was going to cost. I figured, we might have some extra drinks or whatever, so it might be a little more. But I had a ballpark. So, but going a la carte, we ordered each entree separately, and then we ordered a bottle of wine. We had some other things, appetizers, starters, all that kind of stuff. And by the time it all added up, I mean, it was not cheap. So, and of course in euros too. So it was even, it was a little bit of a killer, but it was such a cool experience and such a cool restaurant. The food was amazing, and it's the type of thing the girls would never have done for themselves. So I was really grateful to have that opportunity.
Way to go out on a high note.
So I think it was a pretty special moment.
Well, good.
Outside of that, the last couple things, it was just school. Getting out of the apartment was death. As we've talked about in the past, the flat I was staying in had something like 110, 120 stairs or something up to it. And it was a nightmare taking my bags up it, but at least I had, when I got there the first time, I had help. I had Anna there, so she carried one bag, I carried the other.
Yeah.
We were able to get up there and get situated easy. But when I was leaving, it was just me. Because I had to leave and catch a taxi and all that stuff. And so I'm walking down the stairs. I had to take out my own garbage and everything. I couldn't leave all that up there. So I bag up my trash, get my bags packed and set out onto the steps so I can take them downstairs. And then I leave the key and I lock the apartment. Because that's how you do it, I guess. And so anyway, so as I go to leave the apartment, I've got this, my big bag weighed something like 70 pounds. The smaller bag was like in the 40, range. So, but still both pretty heavy. And I'm walking downstairs that are, almost vertical in a hallway that's not any broader than my shoulders. So it's like tight, you know? And so I'm trying to get down the stairs without
killing yourself,
without killing myself, without falling, without dropping my bag and breaking it or something. Because they're packed to the gills,
Well, you always, you come with your bags partially empty and then you leave and you never have enough room.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. I did all the tourism and I brought back a bunch of stuff for my kids and stuff. I went and toured Camp Nou, the stadium where Barcelona plays. And so I went through the stadium. I bought the boys' jerseys and, full kits and everything. And
they got to love that.
Oh, yeah, they loved it. And so anyway, so I brought back all that stuff. But, yeah, so my bags were to the gills. Everything was full. So I'm working my way down the stairs. And somewhere about like maybe the 3rd or 4th flight, my garbage bag snags on something and tears open.
Oh, man.
And, I can't express how tight this stairwell is. There's like no room to move at all. And the first thing that falls out is a empty wine bottle that shatters all over.
And you locked your key in the...
I can't get back into the apartment to get anything to clean it. Oh. And by the time I get down the steps, there's a door at the bottom of the building, and I stepped out with my bags. Door closes behind me, and I can't get back into the building.
So you're getting a nasty review on Airbnb.
No, actually, I got a good review already. So
you're good.
But anyway, I felt awful for the folks that live there, because here's this asshole American leaving their
just
place,
leaving a broken bottle,
breaks
there,
a bottle, and a bunch of other
it.
crap fell out of my bag, and I was able to try and gather it back up and try and tie the sack back around the knot and everything, or around the hole, and I was able to kind of get it back together and get out with 95% of the garbage. But unfortunately, still, I got out of the building with that broken bottle all over the place, and I just felt awful about it. I got on the horn right away with the guy that owned the building, and I was like, "Hey, man, you gotta send somebody over like right away, to clean this up." It was like 10 o'clock at night though, so I don't
sucks.
know. But yeah, it was a nightmare, and then
was he at least?
Oh yeah, no, he was cool. He understood it. I was like, I'm locked out of the apartment. I can't get anything to clean it. There's a mess. I fessed up to it and everything. It just I was in a situation where there's just nothing I could do about it. Yeah. So anyway, so that was just a nightmare. And I was leaving really early to try and get to the airport because there had been a number of strikes this week, or that last week there. Taxi union, train, like the people that work on the trains, they were striking. And
just not enough pay, or
I guess apparently what's happening, and I heard this from a taxi driver, so I don't know if it's 100% the truth or what, but the way it was explained to me was that with the tourist season, the city goes from 8 or 9 million people to like 16 or 17, so it just doubles, it gets massive. And bringing all these people to and fro is leading to long hours, extra work for the maintenance people, for the drivers, for everybody.
Yeah.
But apparently they're not being paid any extra during this time.
Go figure. Sounds like working for Salt Lake Express.
Yeah, no joke, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's it was a I guess hard situation for them. And I mean, unfortunately, they strike a lot, so I feel like it kind of loses its impact when you strike all the time. But anyway, so it's creating a lot of problems for people traveling. And one of the strikes that was supposed to be taking place was with the security people at the airport. And so I wanted to get there extra early just to dodge any bullets.
Yeah,
and,
not miss your flight. Because
I didn't want to miss my flight because they told me that the lines for security could be 3-4 hours long.
Dude.
And so I was at the airport very early to try and dodge that. And of course, I got there.
Right through.
I was first in line for checking in at the Delta counter. They gave me a VIP pass thing to skip security. So I walked around security, and it was just like one-on-one security. So I walked straight through. It took me 5 minutes to get to my gate.
Well, I tell you what, I'm the same way. I'll get there 3-4 hours early. I've gotten there the night before in times, just because I don't want to deal with returning a rental car. I don't want to deal with all this other stuff. So I'll just get there and I'll do work in the airport.
Yeah.
And I'll stay up all night. I'll close down all the bars in the airport and then work until I fall asleep, and then get up and catch my flight.
Yeah, and that's basically all I did. I just got there early and just posted and worked. So,
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't time lost or anything. I was able to take advantage, and I would have much rather sat there at the gate for 3 hours than not make it,
or sit in line sweating the whole time, thinking you're going to miss your flight.
Yeah. So anyway,
a lot less stressful.
It was good. So anyway, however, despite that little bit of good experience, the kind gentleman at the Delta counter in Barcelona neglected to check my bags all the way through to Salt Lake. Rather, he just checked them to Atlanta.
Yay.
So, and it's a little bit funky. It's kind of hard to explain, but the only way I wanted those Comfort Plus seats for the flight because it's long, but I didn't want to spring for like business class or anything because it's retarded how much it costs.
Yeah.
But for me, if I could get into at least economy comfort, it's not bad. I've got long legs, and so it's good. So, but for whatever reason, one of the 4 legs of my flight, they were sold out of economy comfort or something, and I couldn't buy it.
So for a little bit, you had to...
Well, so in order to buy it, I had to make actually 2 separate itineraries. Because that class of seat wasn't available on one leg, I couldn't buy everything together. And so I don't know why. It was a problem in their system or whatever. I mean, there's some conflict that was stopping me from being able to buy these seats.
So he actually looked at it and saw that it stopped
so
in
it was 2 separate flights, 2 separate itineraries. Mm-hmm. And the person in the States, when I was leaving, saw it right away. When she pulled up my reservation, she could see both flights and just took the liberty of passing it straight through to Barcelona. So I didn't have to pick up my bags in Atlanta. I just, picked them up in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So it was handled. But this guy in Barcelona did not do that. He just sent it to Atlanta. And so what happened was when I landed in Atlanta, and I've got to say, I mean, the huge kudos to the Atlanta airport, first of all. The people working there are awesome. Like, I mean, they're greeting you at every corner, thanking you for your business, helping you to wherever you need to go. Super helpful and super polite, very, very kind and very helpful for everybody who's stressed out and traveling and stuff. I mean, all the way down to the guys sitting at the luggage carousels, catching bags and stuff. I mean, just everybody couldn't have been better. So, I mean, hats off to the Atlanta airport. As big as that place is and as many people as they go through, I mean, I was really impressed. And I was like, saying it out loud, how impressed I was by how good they were. However, the sweetheart that directed me to the wrong customs line by accident. Of course, she didn't know my whole scenario, but I went up to her and I asked her, I was like, hey, I've got a separate flight. I'm connecting here in Atlanta and I'm going on to Salt Lake, But I had to book everything as separate itineraries. Which way should I go? Basically, there was go left to Atlanta final destination, go right to connecting flights. And she told me, she's like, no, because you have a second flight and a connection, just go ahead and go down the connecting route. Well, because my luggage hadn't been passed through to Salt Lake, it stopped in Atlanta. And so I got sent to the connections line, went through security over there, and I stood at the luggage carousel for 45 minutes. And I'm like, dude, where's my stuff? Like the Delta app said it had been delivered. It said my luggage was there, and I'm like, it's not here. So I start asking around, and the kid working the carousel was like, hey, man, I think maybe they sent you to the wrong line. Maybe your luggage got sent to the wrong spot. And he put me in touch with a guy who could track my bags. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, they're over in Terminal F on the other international incoming flights over in the other international terminal. I was like, okay, well, how do I get there? He's like, well, you're going to have to go through security. You're going to have to do all that stuff on this side. Then as soon as you get out of here, take the train, head over to Terminal F. You can pick up your bags down there, recheck them. You'll be on your way.
And you're like, hell no?
Well, I was like, I don't have a lot of time, I mean, because I'd killed so much time. I only had 2 hours between flights anyway, but I just burned 40 minutes standing at the luggage
waiting
carousel.
for it. So,
And so I finally get through security, and I'm panicking, because I'm watching the clock tick down. I'm like, holy crap, man.
There's nothing worse than that.
Yeah, and I'm talking to the guy at security and the security manager. I'm like, hey, man, they sent me to the wrong side. How do I get to the other side? Can I get over there? And they're like, oh, yeah, no worries. You'll get through here. You hop the train. It's easy peasy. You'll just go straight down there and pick up your bag. It's no big deal. So I'm, trying not to convulse and die, but, it was stressful. And so finally I get through security, but I mean, it's, take your shoes off, go through, whole security line again to come back into the country.
Yeah.
So I get through that. I get on the train. I head down to Terminal F. Meanwhile, clock's ticking. It's like 20 minutes till my flight. And I get to Terminal F. Well, the problem is when I came through customs, I exited the secure side of the airport. So I'm back on the outside with all the ticketing and stuff again.
So now you have to go through security.
So I go back over to the carousel. My luggage is not on that international carousel. Turns out it was at the international carousel inside security, not on the outside.
So you didn't have to leave.
So, well, no, it's still a different terminal, but I had exited security to get to this terminal. And so basically, in order to get back to it, I would have to go back through security again to get back into the terminal.
Yeah.
Well, so I go over to the Delta counter. I'm like, man, I'm freaking out. I was like, I got to get my bags because my computers, everything were in my bags. And I was like, I got to get to my bags. I don't know where they are. I can't get to them, And the guy's like, don't miss your flight. Just get out of here. Delta will help you get your bags. Don't sweat it. Just go. And so I'm like, okay, fine. So he prints me off a new boarding pass because I've exited security. I don't have a boarding pass anymore. So he gives me a new boarding pass. Thank God I have TSA pre and all that stuff. And so I was able to kind of bypass the line, but I had to go back through security, shoes off, take your belt off, all that stuff again, get ready, go back through security, just like you do the first time. So meanwhile, that's my third trip through security since I've been in Atlanta.
You know them by the first name basis?
Yeah, more or less. And so, so I'm back in and I'm booking it back down to Terminal A from Terminal F. And I don't know for anybody who knows, you may not know the Atlanta airport, but you can visualize that F is some distance from A. And so even on the train, it's maybe 10 or 15 minutes in the train to get from one end to the other because the airport's so big.
It loops around every other stop.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you're stopping at every terminal along the way. And so I book it back down to A to get to my flight, and I get to my plane maybe 10 minutes after they close the door.
Wow.
So they've already pulled the gate away from the plane and everything, and there's no flipping it back around.
So did you catch the next flight?
I immediately went over to the next Delta counter over. I was like, dude, come on. I was like, I'm 10 minutes ahead of departure. Like, what, why is the door closed? Everything, kind of irritated, because I'd been kind of run around.
You've been run around the loop.
And it wasn't, it was not intentional. Nobody was screwing with me to cause problems. It's just, how it went
happened. Yeah.
And this guy, I think he could tell I was stressed or whatever. So he just got on the computer. He had me booked on the next flight, which was at 6. So it was an hour later.
Oh, well,
so
good.
Almost no wait. So really it wasn't bad. But that 60 minutes wasn't enough time for me to go back down to Terminal F and finish finding my bags and get back down to A.
You're like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I was like, so I go to my new gate where the new flight's going to be. And finally, I find somebody at the Delta counter that's helpful. I mean, because all the way through, like at security and everything like that, I'm asking them, I'm like, can you call my gate? Let them know I'm on the way. I'm coming. I'm running. At the Delta ticket counter, I was like, guys, can you just call ahead to the gate and let them know I'm coming? And they're like, well, no, we can't get through. There's no phone. And maybe because of how big the airport it is, it's difficult to do that kind of thing. I don't know anything about their process. So maybe it's not as doable as it seems, but it seems like it should be pretty easy to pick up a phone call and call the gate. But anyway, when I got to the new gate where the new flight was, there was a woman there working, and she was really helpful, helped me track down my bags, helped me get the bag tags and everything, and she gave me the direct line to Delta's baggage people. And so I get on the horn with this guy, and he couldn't have been better. I wish I remembered his name, but he couldn't have been better. He was like Johnny on the spot. He was calling, while I was on the phone with him, he's calling Atlanta, talking to their luggage people. Can you get this luggage picked up over there and get it on the plane? See if he could, try and get my bags to the flight I was getting on.
Yeah.
And totally. I don't know if it has to do with like my status with Delta or what, but they were busting their butt to try and make it happen. Unfortunately, there was only about 20 minutes, and it wasn't doable. But he not for lack of trying.
Have you gotten them back yet?
Yeah, I got my bags back last night. It was really funny though, because I got one back. So a day later, I got my bags, and the first one showed up at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, something like that. They'd put it on a flight that morning, and then somebody brought it to the house, which was really nice. But for whatever reason, they didn't come together. Just one came, and then the other one came. And but we went to a drive-in movie last night with the family and everybody. And those things go late. I don't know if everybody has been to one or knows what that experience is like. But generally, a movie wraps up at 2 a.m. So I get a call at 1:30 from this lady. She's like, hey, I'm on your doorstep with your other bag.
At 1:30 in the morning?
It's 1:30 in the morning. And I'm getting a phone call from this lady saying, oh, I'm on your doorstep with your bag.
And the funny part is you couldn't even get up and open the door for her.
Yeah, no. Well, any other day I would have been there.
Yeah.
I'm not generally out at the movies at 1:30 in the morning. Any other time I'd have been asleep and wondering who's pounding on my door.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's a place in the building where I told her that she could kind of just scuttle it away, and then I would come back for it later. But so she dropped the bag when I got home, I don't know, at 2:15 or something, and I was able to grab my bag. So anyway, today everything's resolved. I got my bags back. There was a nice little note from the TSA inside my bag that they had searched it.
Love it when that happens.
And so I'm grateful, though. This is the one trip back from Spain I didn't bring back any meat or cheese or anything, which is all contraband.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't let you bring back the jamon or the cheese or anything from Spain.
So you would have opened your bag
so
and been all
they would have
pissed.
jacked all my stuff if I'd have brought it. So.
And they'd be eating a cheese sandwich.
Oh, for sure. Well, and you can usually play the odds and get by with one every now and then, and or sometimes I'll just have it in my bag or whatever.
Your half pound of weed.
Yeah. So, but this time around they searched my bag. So thank goodness I had no contraband on me.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so it's been a rough couple days, a little bit of a nightmare, but not bad. Pretty happy with Delta's service and everything. They've really hulked up, and they did a good job for me, so I was pretty happy with that. But it was a bit of a mess getting home. I got home, a little later than I should have, but in general, not bad.
Well, fun. Glad you made it at least.
So anyway, that's kind of the fork, the El Tenedor in Spain. So anyway, I don't know when I'm going back. Maybe later this fall or in the winter. I don't know. We'll see what happens with some of these opportunities that were out there, and we'll see what happens. So, but looking forward to getting back. But
cool.
glad to be home too.
Yeah, I had a little trip this week as well. I went back to Washington. I wasn't going to go back. I didn't want to anyways. The only reason I did was because the venue that I play at on a monthly basis has been promoting me for a month, and so I feel obligated to make that trip. And I was there just the week before. Initially, I was planning on staying in Washington for the week, and because of the family reunion and everything that was going on, I was just gonna hang out in Oregon, go up, kick it with some friends, and just stay in Seattle. But my sister had flown into Portland, and we didn't have an extra seat for her to get back to Idaho. So I ended up driving all the way back to Idaho, dropping my sister off, hanging out for a day, turning around, driving all the way back to Seattle, playing that gig. And it turned out to be a good show. While I was on my way back, I ended up going through the like Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area up through Montana. And right as I was coming up on the Washington-Idaho border, like Sandpoint area, I'm pulling up. I'm in the right-hand lane. There's this semi-truck that's going a little below the speed limit, and there's like a chain of cars that are kind of coming up on the semi-truck, and there was an opening. So I merged left, get in the opening, and speed up. I didn't slow down anyone or nothing, but the guy behind me was pissed that I quote unquote cut him off. And I didn't. It was totally fine. There was plenty of room, but he gets up on my ass and starts flashing his lights. I'm like, what the hell? Like I'm not doing anything. And so I ignore him. He keeps flashing his lights like it's a big deal.
Well, I've never understood that behavior. What's he want you to do? He wants you to pull over and fight? Like, what are we doing?
Like, literally, he was like, okay. So I'm like, what the hell? So I kind of just tapped my brakes. I didn't brake check him. Like, I didn't slam my brakes and make him slam on his brakes or whatever. I just tapped him, like, and then I went and raised my hands like, what? And he gets even more pissed. So before I can even like merge to the right to let him by, he cuts off to the right, cutting the semi-truck off, and then rolls down his window, spits on my car, and starts yelling at me, pull over. Like, you think I'm going to fucking pull over, dude? Like, you're obviously out of your fucking mind. Like, I'm not pulling over. So then he cuts me off.
That's when you got to do the pit maneuver, just like the cops do.
In my little Subaru against his jacked up Dodge Ram with diesel, like, whatever, dude. So he cuts me off and then slams on his brakes to the point where I have to stop. Like, and there's cars behind me. And so he slams on his brakes. I merge over, almost getting run over by the semi-truck that luckily he was bright enough to slow down and give
watching what was going on.
So I narrowly avoid an accident. Meanwhile, spit's dripping off the side of my car, and I'm trying to get on the phone to call the police, and this dude just steps on it, guns it, and takes off.
Yeah.
And so,
Pretty tough, dude.
I don't understand that mentality. That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, I don't
Part
get
of the
it
reason why I left Seattle, actually. There's a lot of road rage and problems with idiots, but man.
Well, it's so funny because, like, I mean, really, if you just break stuff down, I mean, first of all, you don't know who you're doing that to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you happen to be, a passive guy. You're not looking for a fight or whatever. But what if you weren't?
Yeah. What
if he's busy flipping you off and flashing the lights at you, and I don't know, you're some little gangbanger and you're ready to just pull a gun on the dude?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not worth the risk or
there's just. I don't understand the mentality.
Let alone, what if I did rear end him? What if I ran off the road or hit another car and killed someone else? It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I didn't think that there was. I don't think I cut him off. I don't think I did anything wrong.
Right.
But he's just that angry at the world that he's got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes zero sense.
I don't get it, and I mean, I guess it's hard to empathize with just because I don't have the same brain as that poor guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like here in Salt Lake, there's a ton of that. The driving situation down here is crazy. People are not great. Everybody drives fast, but nobody pays any attention.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a, I don't know, bad place for road rage and that kind of stuff. And so, but that's always been my thought is just like, unless you're really ready to throw down, like if you're looking to engage somebody, then fine, I guess go nuts, be whatever, but I mean, people make mistakes, people do dumb things, people don't see you.
Yeah.
But I think in general, nobody's trying to put themselves in danger.
They just think
so they're not cutting you off because they're not trying to put themselves at risk.
If anything, it was an accident, and it's not even like I didn't even really. I know I had plenty of room.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was freaking out, but it just regardless.
Who knows what else is going on in his life or whatever, but it's just. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the road rage thing is such a serious problem, and I mean, dudes like that just literally shouldn't be driving. They shouldn't be on the road.
No,
if you can't,
let alone in a big ass truck that can run someone over.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't handle your business, then I mean, you have no reason to be out there on the road.
So yeah. Anyways, I was able to plate the brown. I went through Chelan. I met with the bride, did a kind of a review, and just she wanted to actually meet, and they're from Jersey. So it actually worked out really well that they were in town visiting and doing appointments with the venues and setting up, dinner with the caterers and all that stuff. And it happened that I was going to be in town, so I stopped in Chelan. went swimming with some friends, and then from there I drove to Bozeman, Montana. Got to Montana late that night, and met with the developers that are building the back end of my web project.
Oh, nice.
And that was really good to actually meet them face to face. I've never actually sat down and kicked it with them, kind of thing, and was able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, sometimes, because just like you, I work remotely with people all the time.
Yeah, I've Skyped with them multiple times.
Yeah, it's just there's something to having that personal relationship with them too.
Yeah.
Working remote by and large is fine. It's okay. But there's still something different when you can make that connection.
Well, and they were actually really impressed by the fact that I was willing to do that. Just A, I wanted to meet them. B, I didn't have any reason to go to Bozeman other than it was kind of on the way. I probably went 300 miles out of the way.
Yeah.
But I was already going that route. Why not? And it was good to sit down and talk and get a one-on-one with them. And I stopped in at a few venues and dropped off some CDs and business cards, hoping that I can pick up like a monthly in
Nice.
Bozeman.
Yeah, that'd be great. My brother or stepbrother went to college in Bozeman. Both him and his wife went to school there, and so the Bozeman, seems like a pretty cool little city. I've actually never been.
It seems like the demographic would be good for a nightlife scene.
Yeah,
and so compared to Idaho State University in Pocatello, I think the class and the students that go there are a little bit older. Like I think they're more, in their 30s, coming back to school.
Sort of non-traditional.
Yeah. And so I think that if I were to pick up a gig or two in Bozeman, that it would be a fun gig, there'd be a lot of turnout, and B, it'd give me an excuse to go up and actually spend a day working with them.
That'd be great.
So left Bozeman, started coming home, got all the way through Idaho Falls, get to Blackfoot, and the car starts making a funny noise. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Just what you need more.
Yeah, I'm literally 20 miles away from the house. And so I pull over, I look, nothing that I could see. I thought I was getting like a flat tire, or there was like plastic rubbing on a tire or something, and nothing. So I get back on the road, keep driving, get to Pocatello, and the noise starts getting really loud. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, got out and looked, couldn't see anything. I'll just drive slow, and if anything happens, it happens, kind of thing. Get to the house. I put the car up on jacks to pull a tire off and see what's going on, kind of thing. And it turns out that I had lost 2 lug nuts, and the other 2, there were 5 total. There were 3 that were left on there. 2 of them were finger tight, and 1 was tight.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So I literally almost lost a tire on the way back, and thank God I didn't. But at the same time, it was like...
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah. At least I made it.
Better late than never, I guess. But, no, geez.
Luckily, the dealership that did the oil change and the tire rotation I think they're going to handle it. But,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yuck. Well, that sounds like no fun at all. So, well, good. I'm glad I wasn't suffering alone, though.
Yeah, we were both suffering in our own little world. But,
yeah, so... Anyway,
well, we're sneaking up on time here. I guess our little debacle of trips kind of filled the hour.
Yeah, well, maybe that's enough. I mean, if you want, we could... let's maybe keep our topic, and we'll come back around to it next week.
Sure. We were planning on talking about developing good habits, and good habits that you want to have in your daily lives, but we'll get to it another time.
Well, and I think it's a good subject to talk about, especially just coming back from being sort of out of pocket for 5 weeks. I've noticed, when I go to Spain and sort of live their culture and their life for that much time, when I come back, like sort of one of the biggest fails is when I immediately fall back into sort of old habits and doing things the way that I've always done it. I sit and hype and talk about all the things I want to change, or the way I want to be, or the things I'd like to adopt from sort of Spanish culture and stuff like that. And then I come back, I get busy, and I'm just right back to being sort of, American.
Where you were, yeah.
And so actually having a little bit more time to think on that subject and another week under the belt will be really helpful, because right now it's really apropos for me, because I'm consciously looking at what's happening, just in the last day and a half that I've been back in the office. And I'm going, God, I'm going right back to how it was. I didn't bring any new experience home. I didn't learn a new way. I didn't, I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. And I'm just falling right back into my old habits. And so I think to give that topic a little bit more room to breathe and then circle back around to it next week, I think will be good. It'll give me a little bit of on-the-job experience to see if I can actually break some old habits and bring in some new ones. And so...
Well, good.
So I think it's actually, I think it's a good subject to talk about in general, sort of, office health. And we've touched on work-life balance and things like that in the past, but I think talking about, forming new habits specifically, and then as that relates to work and everything else, I think will be a strong subject. So, unfortunately, this episode didn't get real deep or real meaningful, but, well, I think I'm grateful that we were able to sit down and just sort of have some conversation.
Well, it's good. And
you literally walked into the building 20 minutes ago. I haven't seen you in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So we walked directly from you coming in the door to walking right into the studio to record. And so we basically had the conversation that we'd have had ourselves on air. So
well, yeah. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So kind of fun, fun to bitch a little bit about the woes of travel and all that stuff. And I'm sure that you guys all, everybody listening's got their own stories. Ours may not even be that bad relative to some of the stuff.
Well, I kind of wanted to go off on my tangent about the time that I missed my flight because of Salt Lake Express or whatever, but we won't even do that because
save that for another day.
Save it for another day because it's a whole story or whatever. But
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess then with that, let's bring this baby to a close. I guess big things to follow up on or to be aware of. Make sure you're checking out the Spotify playlist. I'm going to go in today and try and add some new music. Every time I go to Spain, it's one of my favorite things. I pick up some new music. Unfortunately for people who aren't into it, it's a lot of dance music and a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's all right. I put a lot of alternative stuff in there.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah. And so, because that's sort of the stuff that they listen to a lot over there in the clubs and the bars and so I hear new stuff, things I hadn't heard before, stuff that I like. So I brought a few back, not as many as normal, but I'll put them into the playlist today.
Sweet.
Also, I guess we don't really have a book club entry this week. So just, I guess if you want to learn more about me, R2 Media Group, in Salt Lake City or Barcelona, you can find us on the web at r2mg.com, at r2mg on Twitter, or at R2 Media Group on Instagram.
You can find my stuff at djontic.com. That's ONTIC. I just did a mix for Power 93 in Seattle.
Yeah, actually, can you talk about that real fast? I haven't had a chance to hear it just because of all the travel and everything. But so what you're doing now, is it a monthly show or a weekly show that you're doing?
Initially I thought it was going to be a weekly show. It's going to be a monthly, I think.
Okay.
Just because he's got some other people he's going to work in and stuff. But
cool. So, but it's basically just like a remix show or whatever.
Yeah,
you go out and make a tape for an hour.
2 28-minute mixes they air broadcast in Seattle, usually on a Friday night.
Excellent.
So
if you're in Seattle, check it out on Power 93. Also, you know what? Why don't you go to their website and email? Say, hey, man, we want more Mike. We want more DJ.
Yeah, do that.
Put in some requests and go and listen to the stuff. I mean, I know that you guys you'll love Mike's work as much as I do.
Yeah, I posted those mixes on the website. They're available for download, and updated my website as well. I've got a bunch of tour dates that are coming up, and if you want to book me, you can do that there too.
Cool.
So.
Oh, and one side little thing. I am unfortunately Mike couldn't work it out with me, but I'm going down to Adam Carolla's podcasting masterclass in LA on Saturday.
Nice.
So I fly down on Friday, but I'll be in LA for the weekend. So if anybody wants to come out, say hi, shake hands, whatever, we'll be there. And so that'll be kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, I wish I could have done that. I had booked a gig like 4 months ago. That's this Saturday.
Well, and I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, Adam Carolla's show, whether you like him or not, he's the most downloaded podcaster in the history of the world. Basically, sort of started this genre to some degree, or at least did the most with it.
Yeah.
And he's teaching a master class or a course. It's basically 6 hours of more or less, it's a group of about 60 or 70 people But it's kind of, more or less one-on-one with Adam, and you could ask questions. He'll, talk you through what he did, his process, all that stuff. So anyway, for improving our show and taking the Egg Show to the next level, I thought it was important to attend. So despite being sort of traveled out, I'm going to run down to L.A. and spend the weekend down there with a friend. So.
Hopefully it'll be worth it. I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, I think it'll be great, and we'll be able to talk about it next week. Finally, to follow the show, visit us at eggscast.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eggs Show. Both Mike and I have been trying to post a few more things, some of the things we've talked about on shows, places we've talked about, things we've gone to, whatever. We're trying to post a few more pictures to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into what's going on around here. So, so be sure to follow us on there. And I guess with that, we'll see you all next week.
Good deal. Catch you later.
Yep.